Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. We're going to start what we call Velocity Banking Midnight Boot Camp because it's going to be midnight soon. And you know what's funny about Windows 11? It doesn't have the seconds on a clock turned on. And so if you go to Windows 10, you could see the seconds, but if you do use Windows 11, I think you have to turn on some kind of a switch or some kind of a hack in order to be able to see the seconds in the clock, which is pure insanity. But now it's 12 a.m., it's midnight. So let's go ahead and do the basic review of velocity banking. All right, so midnight boot camp. What are the two steps for doing velocity banking, right? First one is the budget. Always have to write down your budget. Second step is what's your operating account going to be? You select your main line of credit. That's going to be your operating account. Now, let's go ahead and write down our budget. So we have income, right? We have expenses. We have checking, savings. We have cash flow. Okay. So let's go ahead and also do this. And then this is going to be average American, right? Average American. And then we'll call this velocity banker. All right. So let's just do this. We'll just say $3,000 of income, $3,000 of savings, right? Or expenses, I'm sorry. I'm going insane because it's midnight and I'm doing velocity banking for some reason, and I'm gonna get a little bit sleepy soon. But let's go ahead and format this as currency. So let's color code this as well. We're gonna make this money green, right? Expenses red. All right, so checking and savings, we'll make that a neutral blue, right? So put zero, and then cash flow we can make zero. I'm sorry, cash flow we can make black. Okay, so now after we've done our budget, it's time to do an expense breakdown. Right? So let's go ahead, highlight that, like to make it red, right? And what we're gonna do is write down all of our expenses. And what's really important is that we write down every single debt that we have, because every single debt that we have is cash flow that once it's paid off, or once the debt is paid off, it's cash flow that we recover, right? So what are our typical loans? If you went to college, you probably have a student loan, and you probably have an auto loan. You may or may not have a mortgage, right? We'll probably call that rent, and then other food, gas, insurance, etc. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll put in some other figures, like student loan is a 10K balance at 400 a month. And then the auto loan, very similar. So let me go ahead and do that. So auto loan will be 600 a month at a 13K balance. And so these are only two debts. Okay, so when we do our expense breakdown, we have to list every single debt that we have. And in this situation, maybe it's relatively simple. Okay, so here we're going to put 400 here, 600 here. Rent, we'll say 1,000, and then 1,000 here. And let's go ahead and highlight these all red. And what's important is that this equals this, right? And so now let's actually put it in a formula. So equals sum B8 to B11, right? So it's going to take column B, rows 8 to 11, and sum them up. So in case something changes, so for example, maybe this is $1,001, it's accounted for right here, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now, because we're in a zero cash flow situation where our income is exactly equal to our expenses, we're kind of screwed, right? Because I always think about it like this. Let's say I was at the gas station at 3 a.m. and I wanted a candy bar. right? And this candy bar is going to cost me an extra, let me highlight this red, dollar, right? Can I spend an extra dollar? No, I can't. So this is going to be 3001, negative $1 cash flow. And uh-oh, they automatically color code this red because even the LibreOffice, even the program knows that you can't have negative cash flow. So negative $1 cash flow. So can we have negative $1 cash flow? No, because if we buy this candy bar, that means we're sacrificing something else. And if you don't know anything about debts or even rent, if you're $1 off, that's considered late, right? So you don't want to be late on the student loan, auto loan. That's going to ruin your credit. You don't want to be late on rent because the landlord will probably evict you, right? So what's the alternative that people have when they have money that they don't spend? Well, they just put it on their credit card. Ooh, credit card, right? So yeah, I mean, we're still in the same situation here. Credit card, line of credit, doesn't matter. You see in this situation that when the income comes in, we're paying things out of our checking account, okay? And the only difference between the average American here and the Velocity Banker is that we're using our line of credit as our main operating account. My line of credit, right? So let's say that we have a line of credit, right? So let me erase this. I'll put this at 0, and this will be 3000. But let's say I had a line of credit, and we'll just do this. Interest rate we'll say it's 15%, right? And let's also put the credit limit, and that'll be 25,000. Okay. So you might be asking yourself, what's a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again. So my question to you is, if you have no idea what a line of credit is, just do you have a credit card? And if the answer is yes, then you have a line of credit. Now, there are other types of lines of credit, like personal lines of credit, home equity line of credit, right? Basically, the only difference between those lines of credit and the credit card is that credit cards have a little bit few more restrictions than the personal and home equity line of credit. But all it is you're just, you click a button on the bank's website and it's like they're dumping cash into your checking and savings, right? So I'll show you what I mean by that. But let's say we have a line of credit that's 25,000, and so let's put in another column for current balance. Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight this. And we'll go ahead. All right. So now, how can we put ourselves in a situation where if we spend an extra dollar more than our budget, we'll be okay? Another question that's kind of the same thing is, how do we generate cash flow out of thin air? Because right now we're paycheck to paycheck, and if we needed one extra dollar, oh my goodness, world's gonna end, right? Sky's falling. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do this. $3,000, same income. We're not generating more, we're making more income, but let's just do a little bit of rearranging our expenses. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go to the bank's website. We have a line of credit with them. We have good credit, actually, and ask the bank, please dump 23 grand into my checking and savings. 23,000. Actually, go ahead and copy the color coding and then delete that. Okay, 23,000. Why are we dumping 23,000? Right? Why are we dumping 23,000 from our line of credit into our checking and savings? Because if we pay these off, right, this will go to 0, this will go to 0. Let me go ahead and copy the highlight or copy the red. So let me just do that again. So this will go to 0, this will go to 0. Rent stays the same. Food, gas, insurance stays the same. Okay. Now, once we paid off the loan, this is going to be 0, right? Now look at what happens. We sum this up, and now this is $2,000, right? And what's our cash flow? $1,000, right? So we generated cash flow out of kind of thin air. So here's this trick, right? What you do is you put your entire paycheck into this line of credit, and then you take out your expenses from the line of credit, right? And so what's going to happen is that eventually, this is an estimate, but the balance of the line of credit will go down every single month around $1,000 plus the interest, right? So now let's go ahead and just kind of estimate this. So this will be G2 minus 1,000, right? And so now let's just see how long it takes for us to go to 0. We just do copy and paste. All right, here we go. Okay, and how many months is it going to take us, right? So we'll do this. We'll calculate the interest paid and also calculate how many months it's going to take us. Okay. All right, so now we'll say that the month that we start this strategy will be month 0. And then let's go ahead and calculate. So I2 plus 1. And then we're going to copy and paste. Okay. Now, we're going to do things a little bit inaccurately, but make it easier to see how much interest we're going to pay. Because the interest that is calculated in your line of credit is based on the average daily balance. So now, when you move your paycheck to the line of credit, this satisfies two things: the minimum monthly payment and the interest, or it's going to minimize the interest. Because when you dump your entire paycheck, it's going to, the credit line balance is going to be at the lowest possible balance at that time, because it's going to be calculated by the average daily balance. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Now, again, you put your paycheck in, take out your, so it'll go down $3,000, and then eventually, based on your expenses, it's going to go back up $2,000 again, right? So how can we estimate the interest? We'll basically take the previous month's balance, multiply that by the interest rate, which is quoted annually, and then divide it by 12, because that's the monthly interest rate, right? So that's how we estimate the interest based on the last month's balance. And again, this isn't always accurate because the interest isn't based on the last month's balance. It's based on, okay, it's based on the average daily balance, which is impossible to calculate because you don't know the exact day when expenses are going to occur. So good enough is good enough. And I know that you have to, you don't pay the interest at the end, but just to kind of make this calculation a lot easier and simple, we're just going to kind of calculate it separately. Again, these are all estimates, right? So let's go ahead and sum these up. And we're going to pay about $3,450. Okay. So $3,450 is the interest. And if we take a look at our cash flow, that's probably another 3 months. So about 26 months it's going to take us. Okay. So 26 months, $3,450 in interest, not bad, a little bit over 2 years, but that's paying off $23,000 with no cash flow. And then look, we generated $1,000 cash flow out of thin air. And we talked about the candy bar, right? So in this situation, if you wanted a $1 candy bar, right, you couldn't do it because you're going to have a negative $1 cash flow here, okay? But if you wanted a $1 candy bar, right, let me do this, $1 candy bar, all it is a $999 of our cash flow. So anytime during the process, right, we can buy the candy bar. We can do it because we generate cash flow out of thin air, right? So let me go ahead and erase this. And this was actually supposed to be 2001, but whatever. All right, so let's just do 1,000. Okay, so now when we're in the zero cash flow situation, again, it's going to take us about 26 months and $3,450 in interest, about, okay? So now let's go ahead and erase this. And let's imagine a life where we were not paycheck to paycheck, right? So average income is about 70,000 a year, but I don't know, this would probably be, I don't know if 5,000 a month is actually, I don't know how much that would be after tax. I know 6,000 a month is like after tax. Again, it depends on your state. Is about 100,000 a year. But let's just put 5,000. Let's say, you know what? We're actually making some income. And let me just do this. So 5,000 here. Okay. Now our expenses, we're going to be the same, right? So checking and savings, this is going to be 2,000. Cash flow, now this is more of a conceptual thing, is 0, because if we have money in our checking savings, but we have debt that we're not applying the money to, it's kind of like stale water, right? Stale water doesn't flow, which is why cash flow is 0. Okay. And I know that sounds kind of weird. It took me a long time to kind of grasp, but it made more sense when I met a lot more people who had, like, let's say $20,000 in savings and $20,000 in credit card debt. Like, what? Right? Because the savings is like growing at 0.001%, and the credit card debt has an interest rate of 20 to 30%. I'm like, what are you doing? You're just losing money, right? But that's how banks train us, or society trains us to work that way, and it's to the benefit of the banks. Okay. So now let's go back here. So let's just redo this. So 2,000. So checking and savings is always going to be $0 in velocity banking, because you're dumping your entire paycheck and using your line of credit as your main operating account. So now let's see how much it takes to pay off this $23,000 here. So that'll be G2 minus 3,000. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy and paste. I'll put 0 here. See how many months it takes. So I1 plus 1, no, plus 1. Okay. All right. So now let's calculate the interest, which is previous month's balance, G2 times 0.15 divided by 12. Okay. So now let's go ahead and sum this up. And we're going to pay about $1,250 in interest and pay it off in about 8 months, right? And here's the thing, if we add this to here at the end, again, our cash flow is 3,000. So unlike the other situation where we had to add like an extra 3 months because the cash flow is only 1,000 and we had $3,000 in interest, here we have $3,000 cash flow, so we'll definitely be able to pay it off in the extra month, right? So something to consider. Yes, more income is better, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, this strategy can bring you great relief, right? So, all right. So now let's just do this. Let's just do this. So let's figure out how long it'll take us. So let's say, and let me go ahead and delete this now. We'll delete this. Let's say now we've become a homeowner, right? So that's our final loan, the mortgage. 200K balance and 6% interest rate. And what else? So 6% interest, and I think it's 1,200 a month, but let's go ahead and check. So give me 1 second. Bank rate amortization calculator. Okay, so we get this here, and then go to 100,000, 6%, and now we have to pay about 1,200 a month. Now, question for you all: how long? So let's say 1,200 a month. Let's do this, 1,200 a month. Okay, so question for you all: how long does it take to go from 200 to 90K if you just go according to the bank's schedule? Okay, so let's just go in here, and we'll say the first payment is January. And now let's go to the schedule. You can see that if I look at the bank schedule and see how much I'm paying in principal, which is the actual loan, versus interest, which is the bank's profit, it'll take me about 4 years to pay off $10,000. And I have to pay 45 grand for that. Okay. So now let's go in here and go from 200 to 190. Okay. And see how we can take off $10,000 using our line of credit. So now what I'm going to do is force myself to pay the principal using the line of credit. So what that would mean is that I would click a button on the bank's website, $10,000 goes here into my checking and savings, and then I apply this to the mortgage. I make an extra payment to the mortgage, and this goes to zero. So I'm forcing myself to pay off the principal of the line of credit, and then I'm just going to pay down the line of credit. I'm going to use the strategy where I put my entire paycheck down here, take off my expenses accordingly, and then make it go down to zero by 3,000. So now that's F2 minus 3,000. All right, let's do that. Okay. So now let's just do this. So what we're going to do is take the previous month's balance, G2, times 0.15 divided by 12. Oh, did I screw up? No, it's F. I'm sorry, F2. All right. So now let's go ahead and add this up and see how much interest we pay. And so in order to pay off $10,000, all we did is pay $275 in interest, right? So instead of paying the 45 grand in 4 years, we paid, right? We paid $275 in 4 months. Mind blown, kaboom, and it's past midnight. And we've been at this for 21 minutes. That's how exciting velocity banking is, right? It's how mind blowing and exciting this strategy is. And that's why we're doing it at midnight, because we're midnight warriors. Midnight warriors. Awesome. So now, again, I just repeat the strategy over and over again. So how many times I'm going to do it? I probably just do it 20 times, right? So because 20 divided by 10,000, that's 20. And then how many times do I do it? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So probably just every 4 months. And so 4 times 20 is 80 months. So let's just kind of do a quick calculation of how long. So 80 divided by 12, that's about 6 years, right? So that's pretty good. So a little bit after 6 years, we just paid this sucker off, and now we're mortgage free for 200,000, and we're good, right? We're not like the average American. We're paying off the mortgage in 55 years. I think that's what the latest statistics say, 55 years. But yeah, so just kind of keep repeating the process over and over again. And so what you do is you go from 190 and then just go to 180. And then after 4 months, it's going to go to 170, right? So repeat over and over again. And that's pretty much it. Folks, velocity banking is easy. If you're afraid, just practice over and over again like I do, right? Okay, so this is Crane Atlanta Mentorship. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google form link below. I think I'm going to do a live stream sometime this month, but I don't know exact date, but I think I have some good material. And the live stream is only for members, right? So you got to join the 99-cent membership for the YouTube channel. You should see like a join button on the YouTube channel. And if you want to be part of that live stream, get access to exclusive emojis, go ahead and make sure you join the YouTube channel. Now, if you want to join our group, which is up separate from the YouTube channel, make sure that you click the Google form link below. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great day, and we will speak next time.